What's up, gang? Get more in the frame here. Week 3 of the PVC Technique Olympic Lifting Days. We've been receiving some good feedback from folks just by how challenging but effective these workouts are. So hopefully you're keeping with it and keeping things going. We're gonna do something a little bit different this week. For the warm-up, the general 10-minute warm-up, I still strongly recommend doing it, but I'm going to post a link and redirect you to doing this week's 10-minute warm-up. We have a new one that comes out each week. We do it in our group classes at the park, and we link to it in the email of the day. But before you get into this, I'll have you go through that because I think it applies to a lot of what we do. So start there. But we're gonna go through this just piece by piece, and I'll demo each of the movements in case they're new, and then set you guys on your way. So today, just like the last few weeks of developing the snatch, is just getting familiar with some of the overhead positions, some of the mobility through your trunk and through your hips, ankles at the bottom of the squat. So we're gonna start off 3 rounds through. You're gonna do 10 of the face down lift-offs. We've done this before, but I'll show it again. And then you're gonna do 10 slow motion muscle snatches. So this will be new to this series. I'll walk you through how to do it. Then we're gonna go 3 cycles through 10 of a squatting internal rotation, which is relatively new. I'll show you that. And then 5 times through a little bit of a complex where you're gonna do 1 snatch press to an overhead squat, 1 Sott press, 1 dislocate in a squat position, and then you'll stand and repeat it for a total of 5. Then the third one down, 3 rounds through, you're gonna do 10 hang power snatches, real crisp reps with the PVC, followed by 10 snatch balances, working on some speed underneath the bar. And then you'll finish with 35 reps for quality, just like we normally do. So breaking these into manageable chunks here of a full squat snatch. So coming down from your shins, doing the full squat movement with as much technical proficiency as you can. And like I said, as always, only count the good reps. So on any given day, if you hit 35 for 35, I'm gonna be questioning some of the judgment. So there should be some critical reflection, or if you're videoing yourself, give yourself the thumbs up on maybe 80 to 90% of them, but definitely redo the ones that aren't perfect. And then if you have access to the barbell, the little EMOM thing at the bottom, every 90 seconds for 10 rounds, 1 Snatch Shrug coming from the ground, 1 Power Snatch, again coming from the ground, and then 1 overhead squat. This is, I believe, similar, if not identical to last week's. The idea will be to go slightly heavier on 1 or more of the sets. So let's go through the moves. So like I said, if you haven't already done the 10-minute warm-up, I'm gonna redirect you to there. I'll see if I can't figure out how to put it down at the bottom of the screen, but if not, I'll have it linked in the comments. So you're gonna need a piece of PVC for this first little piece, the face down lift-offs. If you remember from weeks past, the idea here is to start to work through your shoulders and maybe the thoracic part of your spine, and not through your lower part of your back or your lumbar there. So you're gonna get face down much like a Superman, and you're gonna be tucked with your hips tucked underneath and your abs pulled tight, like a hollow body position. That part's really important. Let's see if I'm still on the screen. I am. I like to use my forehead as a little balancing point on the floor, so if you need a yoga mat, get that. And at first, especially if you have tight shoulders, start wide with your arms, because every one of these reps wants to be completed with fully locked out elbows. So I'm face down, my forehead's on the floor, my arms are locked. I'm gonna pull my shoulders down and back, and then I'm gonna try and lift my hands. You'll notice I have a slight pause at the top. That's just to establish control, so I'm not just flopping my arms up and down. I'm actually pulling, pausing, and then lowering. Those are important. Like I said, the control is the big part. So if you're unable to get any daylight under your hands, consider going wider with your hands, or even just getting rid of the PVC altogether. But if you are able to do it, and it's fairly easy, maybe on subsequent rounds, consider going a little bit narrower to add to the challenge. But the whole time, I want to make sure your butt's tucked underneath, make sure you're not arching your back. So I'll try it narrower. I tuck everything, my forehead goes down. What feels nearly impossible at first, if this is new to you, will quickly become doable. A lot of small muscles in the upper part of your rear part of your shoulder. Plus, it's just like a pattern of movement you're maybe not used to. So as you get more neurological control, it will get easier and it will add to the stability in your overhead position. So you're going to get 10 of those, and then you're going to pair that with 10 slow motion muscle snatches. So all this is a snatch without any dropping, without any like real footwork, where you're going to start down from the shins. Everything's tight. I'm going to come up past my knees. I'm going to scoop underneath. I'm going to get my shrug. Elbows come up high and wide, and then I'm going to finish in a good lockout position with my core nice and tight. And then I'm going to start back over. Get set, everything's tight. Come up past the knees, scoop, stand and shrug, elbows go high, and finish tall. So it's not particularly hard from a weighted standpoint, but you want to feel the tension, you want to feel a good bar path the entire time. And 10 reps, will start to add up, plus it grooves the pattern that we're after. Last one. Get set, everything's tight, knees, scoop, stand and shrug, elbows, finish, everything's nice and tight. 10 reps of those. So you'll go 3 rounds back and forth between the floor and these muscle snatches. Next one, you're gonna go 3 rounds through. The first piece is without any PVC. It's just 10 squatting internal rotations. So you're gonna be at the bottom of the squat, and you're going to internally rotate until your knee touches the floor. Ideally, your entire instep is touching the ground. You're not rotating up on the ball of your foot, you're collapsing at the arch. And then you're going to switch to the other side. I like to kind of rock out and then drop it in. Go back and forth, out, in, external, internal rotation. You'll do a total of 10, and then on your basically 5th one on each side, you're going to stay down in this internally rotated position and hold it for 10 seconds on each side. Got 10 there, drop down over here. Now if this doesn't feel great, if you're unable to get all the way to the floor and you can only go partial way, that's fine. You can put a stack of books or even just kind of hover. You can also use your hands here to provide a little bit of assistance. The idea is to stress the area, but we don't need to overstrain. So find the variation and the intensity that works for you. If you're finding that this is just not your cup of tea, we can always move to the 90-90 rotations here and just rotate side to side. This knee is the internal rotations. So in this scenario, maybe you're leaning more towards this side than dropping your shin over the front, or your chest over the front shin rather. This side will really stress that internal rotation at the hip. So pick your poison there. We're gonna do 10 total of these squatting internal rotations, and then you're gonna go through a little complex with the PVC. So you're gonna do 5 cycles through this. The cycle will start on your back. You're gonna get your feet into a squat stance, belly's nice and tight, and what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna press to an overhead squat. Once I'm down in that squat, I'm gonna hold my hips nice and tight, lower to the shoulders, and get a Sott press. I'm gonna go for a full dislocate here, and then I'm gonna stand tall. That's 1 rep. So I'll show you again. Bring it to the shoulders. Everything's tight, you're gonna press out from underneath it. Then you're gonna get a Sott press, full dislocate, and then stand tall. 5 reps through that. And you'll just do that. The squatting internal rotations for 10, 5 of this cycle, 3 rounds through. Third piece, we're gonna go 3 rounds, 10 hang power snatches. So this is pretty classic here, but we're looking for good snappy mechanics. Great to video these. So feet will be underneath the hips. I'm gonna get set right above my knees. Everything's nice and tight. I'm gonna come up and really stick my landing. Stand tall. So get everything tight. Big breath in, to the knees, and stand tall. We're gonna do 10 of those. And just like we do with an empty bar and warm up, just like when we're working with actual weight, the more aggressive and the more attention you can pay to the details, the greater the return on your time here. So really put in the effort. We'll do 10 of those, and then we're gonna get 10 snatch balances. So you're gonna bring the bar to your shoulder, and the idea is as quick as we can, we wanna drop from this position into an overhead squat, but dropping as opposed to pressing like we were doing before. So if you were to watch this slow motion, ideally this bar doesn't really rise, I just fall underneath it. So from here, drop down, stand tall. You'll notice when I land, I really try and stick the landing, so my belly is nice and braced, my shoulders and lats are engaged, and stand. Once again, great thing to video, kind of for some self-diagnosis or if you want to send it to us. One thing that you'll notice, especially if your hips are tighter or weaker, is at the bottom, we'll start to like cave over like this, and your butt will tuck underneath. If you see that that's happening, stop yourself a little bit taller, and over time work deeper. So instead of catching a rock bottom, maybe we're here, and then we can do a real controlled overhead squat until you get control over what the hips are doing. Once again, pick your poison and use this to improve upon. So 3 cycles through, 10 of the hang power snatch, 10 of the snatch balance. And then the final piece with the PVC, we're gonna go for 35 total reps of quality, so only count the good ones, of a full squat snatch. So we'll get set up, feet underneath the hips. Bar starts at mid-shin, just real controlled. Clear the knees, scoop, pop, and drop yourself underneath it. Trying to stick each of the landings. Takes a little getting used to just PVC and not having weights on it, but it will force you to really own each of the positions, own the full mechanics of this movement, and like I said, serves for really good practice. So chunks of 3 to 5 I think are good. Last one here. Review your tape, make sure you're satisfied, and then slowly chuck off a full 35 reps. If you're still feeling up to it, and you have access to a barbell, we'll go every 90 seconds for 10 rounds with a little 3-piece complex here. This is something we've done in weeks past, so the idea will be to build to a little bit heavier for some of your sets. But you're gonna come from the floor. You're gonna get 1 snatch shrug. Then you kind of come back down to the floor. You're gonna go for 1 power snatch, stand all the way up, then 1 overhead squat. And that will be the full rep count for that round. So you'd rest until you start back up on the next round, and then do it again. Snatch shrug, power snatch, overhead squat. That's it. It's getting warm in here. The sun's coming down. I hope you enjoy it. Be sure to post questions or send any video our way for feedback, and we'll let you know what we think. Adios.